All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hi. My name is Priscilla Enriquez. I'm with the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. I want to welcome you to the Bootcamp on messaging and marketing. We all know storytelling is really important on sharing your impact for Big Day of Giving and to inspire donors to give. Who has attended the 2 prior boot camps? All right, you guys are amazing. You're going to make a lot of money on May 2nd. Because our data shows that if you attend boot camps, you actually raise more than the average. So you're in for a treat on May 2nd. So today's going to be a really exciting, really impactful day, chock full of really good information. And for those of you who didn't attend the previous 2, the way we line this up, the first was sort of a basics. You know, what's Big Day? Who's new to Big Day of Giving? You can raise your hand. Okay, so if you haven't seen that boot camp, I really recommend that you take a look at that. And then last week was all about fundraising, you know, online giving, sort of the basics on how to thank your donors and steward them so they give again. And then today is about how to really market and message your story and your impact for inspiration so people can give. So you'll hear that theme throughout. And then next week, right? Next week is on putting impact at the center. So we want to try to wrap everything up so that you all have a great day on May 2nd. We have amazing talent in the room who will be presenting, so we want to thank them. We want to thank KVIE for being our host. Let's show them a lot of love right now. And we also want to thank Western Health Advantage, who is our lead dog sponsor. And I don't know if they're popping by today. Are they? Okay. All right, so, and of course, we'd love to see your socials, so make sure you use hashtag BDOG2019 and show them some love. But I do want to give a special shout out to 2 people on the agenda today, McCleary and Kevin Smith-Fagan. These are 2 very good friends of mine and colleagues who've done a lot for Big Day of Giving and just a lot for the community in terms of stewarding their own donors and having a great impact in the communities that they serve. So thank you for being here today. And are there any mentors in the room? If you could raise your hand. So another key ingredient, keep your hands up so everyone can see you. Another key ingredient are our mentors. And these are seasoned folks who've been in a Big Day of Giving. And they have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. Happy to share them with you. So if you have not taken advantage of partnering up with a mentor, we encourage you to do so. And you do that by going to the website, and there's a page on mentors, and you can just take a look and see who you'd like to meet with. With that, I want to turn it over to Lavelle Harris, our Director of Nonprofit Ventures and Strategic Impact.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We're halfway through, a little more than halfway through our boot camp season, as I like to call it. Before we get started, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. You're going to hear me say this all the time, so I know you're probably already used to it. But please do take advantage of all of the training sessions and the networking opportunities that you do have. We just had one of our happy hour opportunities yesterday, actually, in Folsom. Like I mentioned in orientations and other boot camps, we're taking the show out on the road. So I believe next we are in Placer County. We're in Davis next time. Okay, so very good. So make sure that you're also keeping up with the BARC. Make sure that you're registered, or you're subscribed rather, to the e-newsletter that we put out with all of the information that you need in order to make sure that you're on top of your deadlines and your all the opportunities that you have to engage with us. We have a team captain call as well. Make sure that you're having your team captains and even other members of your team attend those webinars that we have. The next one is March 13th, so in a few weeks we'll be having another team captain call, so make sure that you get registered for that on the Big Day of Giving website. We want to make sure that we're keeping you abreast of all of the information that is really out there. We're so excited to have the toolkit kind of up and running. We've got lots of marketing materials there for you, so please do take advantage of all of that information on the Big Day of Giving website. It really is your hub for all things BDOG 2019. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ted Fong. He's going to talk to you about engaging the media and video storytelling. So maybe do a little introduction, let people know who you are. And
thank you, Lavelle. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ted Fong, native of Sacramento. I grew up here, and it's really changed in the last 56 years. I'll be 56 next week. Storytelling is, as you know, a very ancient art. But I never really understood storytelling until I, as a marketer, professional marketer, early in my career, kind of ran out of gas. Because for the first 20 years of my career, I was doing corporate marketing, advertising, PR, all that push stuff, interruptive advertising, all the stuff that you hate and throw away, until the recession hit and Google took over, and everything was all about inbound content marketing. And I really took a look at that as a way to take the next step in my own career. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have a job today. And what I discovered was that the power of stories, as you know, is really the currency of marketing. Without a story, you don't have a marketing program. We all know that, and you're going to hear more about that today. The topic, engaging the media, I think is really interesting. I probably would not have called it engaging the media, per se, because I think if you tell a good story and put it out there, the media will follow you. They will come to your doorstep and say, well, we saw this posting or someone's talking about this and that, tell me more. And that is just the nature of inbound marketing for marketers who have a good story to tell. So we're going to look at some of the things that I've done and my approaches to telling a good story that both attracts media, but more importantly, attracts donors. Everyone loves a good story, right? Next slide. Everyone has a good story. Every single one of us. But not everyone can tell a good story. And the job of a marketer, particularly someone like myself who runs around with a camera and takes a lot of videos of people telling the stories, is to ask the right questions, go down the right branches of thought and emotion to bring out the best in that person you're trying to get a story from. And I find for myself, the most effective stories are ones that, as you know, are from the heart, that are largely unscripted, that people find really interesting, can empathize with, that resonate with your audience. And at some point, there's a call to action. Donate now, attend, buy, whatever it is, okay? And that's what a good story can do. So about 2012, I put my kids up to starting their own band, the College Fund Street Band. And I thought I would, how many of you heard of the College Fund Street Band? Okay, some of you. Yeah. And it was really my foray into content marketing, that if I put stuff out there on social media, maybe I could build a following, and I did. The band is defunct now because my oldest son went to college, and he was sort of my middle son went to college. He's sort of the heart of the band. But we put out videos, posted on Facebook, and I thought, this is kind of fun. You get to brag about your kids, and people will show up. So we probably had, over the last 6 years, probably about 15 to 20 newspaper coverages, and probably about 8 or 9 TV shows and that type of thing. And not once did I write a press release. But I did tell our story on the website. We did put a lot of videos on YouTube. You could Google College Fund Street Band, all kinds of stuff would go up there. And what I found is that journalists are combing social media. They're looking for things to report on, and they will take interest in things that people share and comment on. And our postings on Facebook have a lot of comments and shares, and so they like that. We raised enough money to put 2 kids through college. Should be illegal, but you know, when you put your kids out on the street to perform with the name College Fund Street Band, it's pretty clear what you want people to do, right? Okay. 2 years ago, my wife had this idea of producing a music video for ACC Senior Services. She got me involved. I donated my service to produce, it wasn't this video, but a Bruno Mars video where the seniors were dancing, and I rewrote the lyrics, and it was all about the big day of giving. At the very end, it said, "Give now," okay? We'll just take a look at 1 minute of this video, which is last year's video in the same vein. We'll bring up the URL. Let's go back one slide.
Tony, what are we doing here?
Hey, KG, put away your bifocals. We're gonna have a good time. Yeah, you heard the man.
Good time? You wouldn't know a good time if it hit your head. What?
Hey, come on, guys. Cool it. Come with me. All right.
Ladies, your age is just a number. It's only important if you are a bottle of wine. Honestly, I didn't expect to be here like this with you. It's the best time of my life. You got it.
Sacramento, I'm having a blast.
class at ACC. It happened so fast.
I walked in, and who did I see? Tremendous people waiting for me. Senior life is like a new day to I just want to say, oh well, oh well, oh.
So on the slide deck, you can, it goes on, but it talks about all the areas of ACC that are important to seniors and really gives compelling reasons through song and dance why people should give. At the very end, it says, give now, just big give now. Very unashamed about that. And everything that followed with this, the postings on social media, the email campaigns, it was just give now. You like the video, give more. So the first video we did in 2017, and plus other stuff we did on social media, storytelling, and things like this. 2016, I think ACC brought in about $23,000 big day of giving. When we put this video out and did other social media-like stuff, that number doubled. It went up to 55 in 1 year. Last year was about the same. But the videos themselves have been a very huge media magnet. You know, last 2 years ago, we had 4 stations show up and do stories. Good Day Sacramento decided that they're going to spend the big day of giving at ACC, so that was kind of an exclusive. And then ACC also appeared on the Sacramento Bee front page that year. And it's hard to attribute everything back to the video, but the video itself and video in general, good storytelling, kind of promotes the vibe, your brand, and especially your culture. Okay, next slide, please. These are some statements that I recorded from various community leaders, Sister Libby Fernandez, Councilman Jeff Harris. The lady on the bottom left is Julian Tarante, who's an end-of-life counselor and a former chaplain, and then a social worker on the right. And these were used in last year's Big Day of Giving for Joshua's House, the hospice for the homeless. And they give very compelling, good reasons why people should give. And some of them tell their stories. Jeff Harris told a story about his mom, all in, 1 minute and 6 seconds. He did 2 things that were really important for people to hear. He mentioned the fact that he himself gave to Joshua's House, and then his mom was in hospice and he was the caregiver, okay? And we accomplished that in 1 minute. Videos like this are really easy to produce and really hard to produce. So I have up here my standard set of gear. I don't buy real high-end camera gear. If you want to come up afterwards and ask me about this, I'd be happy to show you what I do with this stuff. But the hard part of this is how do you get these guys to say just the right thing that will tug at the heartstrings of your donors, okay? And that is really like 80% of your value proposition as a marketer, is when you interview a subject, how do you get them to say things that are really heartfelt, poignant, sometimes painful, so that other people will take note of that. Okay, and we'll get back to that. Let's go to the next slide, please. By the way, these URLs in the top left, these are shorteners if you want to watch these videos on your cell phone during break, or when they make the slides available, you can actually go and watch these videos. This is part of the same campaign for Joshua's House. Joshua's House last year was the first time Big Day of Giving participant, and we raised about $29,000, both online and offline. The videos, I'm happy to say, had a lot to do with it because they were viewed by a lot of people, and again, media picked it up and did a lot of stories. KCRA, Channel ABC, most of the major stations did stories, several stories, and continue to do stories on Joshua's House. Let's play a little bit of this. This one, in social media, the title is really important. The title tells a story. This guy went from being an IT manager to being homeless. And that's a story.
I've seen people die on the street. And that's another part of being homeless, is that you see things that other people don't see. They're just scar the soul, is how I would say it. Some of those things have scarred my soul.
James was a senior manager in high tech for 15 years. Then he lost it all. Bad decisions, bad luck, and some mental health issues left him homeless.
First time I slept outside, it was the only place I could find was in Reno, a Greyhound bus station's there, and there were hedges in front. And between the hedge and and the building is just grubby and filthy. But I had my dog, and we just slept in the trash in between the building and the hedges. My state of mind being homeless has been very, at times, just a great deal of suffering, and not just the cold and the misery of which there's plenty.
Thank you. So this guy hardly talks to anyone, and I thought I would have a tough time talking to him, but when you think about the things that are on his heart, and you tell him that if he shares this with other people, how it will help people like him and can help us help him as well, then people kind of turn around. And then all of a sudden they go into the moment where they're back to the day when they first became homeless. And I think this could be applied to any type of nonprofit situation, particularly the people that you help, of which there are many. The key is to be able to go in there, and if you're a video marketer like I am, to go in there and kind of not necessarily plan what you're going to do, but find out how you're going to connect with that person. So when I sit down with somebody, I spend a few minutes to chat with them to get their background. And I go into, not at a deep level, the things that have affected their life and put them in the situation they're in. Then when we're sitting down for the interview, which takes maybe 30 minutes, all to make a 2-minute video, I ask probing questions, the how, the why, how did you feel? In this case here, I asked them questions, well, how does a guy like you go from making $110,000 a year to being homeless? And his answer, which is not part of the edit, is, well, it's an incredible story. And there are a lot of things that he could have, should have done to make his life different. He talks about those things. I explore how he felt the moment, the day he realized he was homeless, where he was, and where was the first place he slept. Okay, and when you go to those things, it really brings up the memories. And these big people like him become very lucid, because that never goes away. So not every cause that we market during Big Day of Giving is as poignant as homelessness, much less hospice for the homeless. But we have to look at the people we serve and figure out what is it that really is at the core of who they are and why they're coming to us. And don't be afraid to put a camera in their face really close and ask them the question, okay? If you think it's a great answer, but they need to, if you think they have something good to say, but they didn't quite articulate it, you come back later and you ask the same thing in a different way. And a lot of times they're in a different mood or mode of thinking, and they'll give you a good answer. So when I interview somebody for 30 minutes, I'm usually repeating questions in different ways and trying to trigger something that will bring the flood of memories and feelings back for that person. That's a good example. We'll skip this one. This went crazy. I did this for a cinnamon roll shop. You can look at this later. And they just got a ton of traction. These guys went through hell to get where they are. They're Cambodian refugees. He almost died of sepsis. Someone tried to burn down his gas station, but they put 3 kids through college. Total American success story. Next one, please. Okay, this one is interesting. Some of my best videos are ones that I am totally unprepared for. So I do work for Sacramento Asian Sports Foundation, who last year again was a first-time participant of Big Day of Giving, and my client Eric Wong is here. I walked into the gym where my kids play basketball, and somebody said, okay, well, go interview Coach Brad Fuji, because I think he's got a great story to tell. I have my camera gear, and I'm thinking, gosh, this guy's no older than my son. What could he possibly? I totally judged the book by its cover. Not fair. So let's watch about 15 seconds, 20 seconds of this.
I let my players have a good amount of freedom. I gave my players options of what they can do. I let my players make mistakes, but as long as they learn from those mistakes, I'm okay. Sportsmen said to me, if playing is what you know.
So we see what's going on? Okay. Not once did we talk about palsy, his speech impediment, how he got there. But from the moment he opened his mouth, I knew what that story was, okay? And it wasn't about basketball. It was about how he's a mentor to all these kids, okay? And I tried to discover, well, how did he get that orientation? It's because his parents, he explains later on in the video, his parents adopted him. I believe he is Korean. His parents might not even be Asian. But nonetheless, they took care of him despite his disability and gave him a chance. And that's what he's doing. That's what this video is about. Okay. I did not expect that, but I went with it. And he did a great job. And I discovered that someone like this is among the most articulate people I know, because they have such a hard time speaking that throughout their life, they know to communicate, they have to say it clear and right and choose the right words correctly the first time, right? Whereas a lot of us who are very good at speaking, we just kind of ramble on. This guy is total economy of words. And if you talk to him, he's just clear, very clear about his emotions and can express it really well. Okay, I'm going to just blow over the next couple of slides. This one is the same thing. You can watch this in your spare time. She's got a great story to tell. In a nutshell, she was afflicted with sepsis, had 4 limbs amputated, and came to Sacramento Asian Foundation to give a talk on leadership and to young girls. Again, I had no idea I was interviewing her until I sat down and heard her story. But a lot of times you as marketers will have to go talk to people and in an instance try to figure out what their story is. And if you have your iPhone or gear like this nearby, to try to capture that. Okay, let me wrap it up here because I know we have other speakers. What I do want to say is it's not really about the gear or the fact that we're trying to engage with media per se, or we're trying to promote our brand. All that's important. What I do is I focus on individuals and try to bring that story out of them. Sometimes that story promotes and supports the brand and flatters the brand. Sometimes it doesn't, because that's just what the story is. But when the brand, like Sacramento Asian Foundation or ACC Senior Services, reports on that, they get credit for having the insight to bring a story to their audience that their audience cares to watch. Okay, so if we go back to the first slide, the guy and the girl and the engagement, sort of a metaphor for that. The guy on the ground is the brand, the ring is a story, and the girl receiving the ring is everybody else out there, okay? And I think it's a very good way to think of things. The ring itself is a story, and it's very precious. It's a scarce commodity, hard to find, hard to develop, but if we can create that story through visual storytelling like video, then we have a chance of reaching our donors. Okay, this was supposed to be an hour-and-a-half talk, but I boiled it down to 15 minutes. Thank you very much for having me here.
So we'll continue to talk about storytelling with Katie McCleary. So the floor is all yours.
Thanks. Okay, so first of all, Ted's a genius. Ted just literally told you everything you need to know in 15 minutes, and he nailed it. I'm talking like, I've been trying to figure this stuff out for 20 years. Ted, 15 minutes, done, bam, mic drop. He's genius. Okay, I'm going to preface that with why I think he's so much a genius in this particular moment for me. So, 18 months ago, I left my job as the executive director of 916 Inc. Hardest thing I have ever done in my life, and I have done a lot of things. I've done a marathon. I've lost 127 pounds. I'm sort of a daredevil junkie. I dare myself to do a lot of stuff that I don't want to do. Recently, after leaving 916 Inc., Capital Public Radio and the American Leadership Forum said, hey, Katie, we think you should be the host of a podcast called The Drive. And what we want you to do is we want you to interview all the major leaders in the region and get them to open up on air their personal stories about how they had to change in order to be the leader they have to be for our region. Do you think that's easy? No. Do you know any leader who wants to come on Capital Public Radio and just sort of cut open a vein and bleed everywhere? No. I thought as a storyteller, wow, I can do that job. I can rise to it because interviewing people and getting their stories is what I do. Should be easy, right? Right, Ted? No. Oh my God. They set up all these interviews for me. Big major players. I'm super intimidated. Really intimidated by these people, by the way. I'm like, okay, get them to open up. Same thing. I just got to talk to them, Ted. You just got to be yourself, be approachable, talk to them about their life stories. And you just basically are asking the same question over and over again. Why? Tell me more about that. Can you explain to me what it's like to be in that situation? Like, give me concrete details and specifics. If you ask them to be very specific and intentional with understanding the stories of their lives, they go lucid and they just drop into it. And that's where the magic happens. The number one most important question for me to ask in that interview process constantly, which is kind of uncomfortable for me, is why? Why do you feel that way? Why did that happen? Why did you do that? Why? It's a constant digging of why. How many of you love to raise money? Raise your hand if you love to raise money. What? I started a nonprofit. I didn't get the memo that I would have to raise a lot of money all the time. All the time. I thought that fundraising could be an activity I do, a couple days a week out of my job. No. Fundraising happens all the time because fundraising is not just the flow of money coming into your bank account. Fundraising is storytelling. And every single person in your organization is a fundraiser because they should be talking about the impact of the work you do every day. I know that you are not out there working your butts off to save money to put the Tesla order in on your car. If money were the carrot for you, the shiny, shiny carrot that motivates you as an animal to survive, right? You actually might be in another profession. You are here because your carrot is different than that. However, for you to keep doing the work that you need to do, that you love, because you know that it matters, you need all the other carrots and the money to come in to do the work. So you got to get real comfortable real fast with the fact that your stories and how you represent your organization and how you talk about your organization, not just for the big day of giving, y'all, all the time, at the dinner table, on social media. When you're sitting at the hot tub with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever, and you're just talking about your job and there's 3 other people in that hot tub, guess what? You're still fundraising. That's not an opportunity where you get to talk about how much you hate your job. No, seriously. The only thing that we can do in nonprofits is build trust. You build trust, people will fork over their valuable resources to you. So let's get real clear about why you do the work that you do. And then I'm hoping you'll see fundraising in a very different way, and you'll do what I call getting into the flow of fulfillment, and then guess what? People start calling, people start coming to your door because you got brave enough to know your why, to polish it up for marketing, and you just live and breathe it every day. And then it becomes natural and not the chore of, crap, I got to do my fundraising today. Let's get to that place first. Okay. Clearly, I have a lot of passion for this. I'm telling you, I have been in your shoes. I hate raising money. I hate asking for money. I grew up poor. Money is a huge issue for me. Approaching people who I think have wealth and resources to support my cause, that is fraught. That's fraught for me. It's hard. Over time, I've learned how to do it. And I've done it through my own personal story. So I love what Ted did today because I do believe that the majority of the stories that you tell in your nonprofit need to come from the clients who have been impacted by the work that you do, period. How you do that is you have to be really careful and intentional because it's not your story and you don't want to just pimp their story out to tell the sad story, right? That's exploitation of your clients. So let's be real clear about the stories that we tell. I believe that the best stories And sort of the stories that I've seen from what Ted showed today, right? Authentic, unscripted, from the heart, real people stories. The why, the details and the specifics. I teach creative writing. I've taught at community colleges. I've probably written for the past 15 years from everybody from highfalutin senators and CEOs to prisoners and preschool children. I have literally written with every single person, every single type of person, I believe, on the face of the planet. That's been my 10,000 hours of understanding the stories of people and what motivates them. The ache underneath all of it, no matter what your race is, your class, how much money you have in your bank account, the number on the scale, it doesn't matter. The ache is the same. The ache is to be seen for who you are. That's hard, right? Because when we're on stage in our jobs, we often feel like we can't bring our personal story into our job. Well, guess what? You're in the social sector, so your work life and your personal life are probably pretty intertwined. And we can't really compartmentalize anymore. So my job today is to really get you to think about your personal why. And this happens a lot in professional development. What's your why? What's your why? I'm going to ask you to let go today. And we're going to write right now in the room. I know some of you are rolling your eyes like, oh my God, she's going to make me write. I freaking hate writing. Can I write on my computer? I don't want to write on my hand. My handwriting's really bad. All this hand wringing is happening all the time. I've seen every single form of hand wringing that there is. And I've seen every single excuse not to write, not to share my story, not to be real with my story, to not be vulnerable about my story, and I don't want to share it because I don't want to be seen. But yet, I can tell you unequivocally, you want to be seen. So it's real weird when we start talking about storytelling. People get weird real fast. Okay. I know I just threw a lot at you. So, I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pen. And we're going to write for 5 minutes. It's going to be silent in here. Some of you are not going to like it, and some of you are going to love it. Some of you are going to be like, oh my God, it's quiet, thank God. Some of you are going to be like, oh my God, it's quiet, why isn't anybody talking? I'm freaking out. We have to sit in stillness with our why. So I'm going to ask you to see if you can clear junk out of your brain, all the things that are stressing you out today, because I know you got like 4 meetings and 900 emails, and you got a grant due at 9 o'clock. I know it. Trust me. I've lived it. In this moment for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, I want you to write freely in your own authentic, natural childhood voice. The voice you were born with. Not the voice of your organization, not the branding sound of your mission statement. Why do you work your ass off every day for your cause? 5 minutes. Okay. I believe in the rule of thirds. Most things shake out. A third this, a third that, and a third that. A third will get it, a third didn't, and a third of you were like, I think I did it right. A third of you liked that, a third of you hated it, and a third of you don't know what to think. A third of you were like, oh man, I want to write all day, and a third of you were like, that was miserable. No wonder storytelling falls at the bottom of my to-do list all the time, and yet it's the number one thing that'll actually make a huge difference in your organization. All stories begin with conflict. All stories begin with conflict with a character. And a character has to decide, how am I going to deal with that conflict? And then they usually go on a journey. It's called the hero's journey. It's Joseph Campbell. It's old as time. In that journey, we learn so much about ourselves. That's where we learn our why. And at the end of that journey, we should be changed, and we enter into a new normal, and yet another problem comes our way, and we start the whole thing again. That's the cycle of becoming. I hope that when you wrote your why today, maybe some of you were more abstract and emotional It was kind of sort of more vague and more about feelings, right? About maybe your personal philosophy of why you do what you do. I bet a third of you dropped into some kind of story. I saw and had this experience in my life, and so I have to do it this way now. I have to support this cause because I have experienced this in some fashion. And a third of you are really about the impact that you see outside of yourself. And that impact inspires you to get involved and engaged. I would encourage you to figure out the balancing of those three things in your story. What's the conflict that you're solving? And how does the solving of this conflict impact the clients you serve, impact your personal why? It's constantly sort of how you're sort of telling this story, right? Here's how it affects me personally. Here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Here's the organization problem that my organization is trying to solve. And here's all the impact of those two work things out in the community itself. So it's very simple. You have a brain that is very logical, right? That's the numbers and the data. This is why it matters. You have the heart and the soul. That's the story. That's the why that I just made you write. And the last part, right, which you probably heard before in Fundraising 101, is then we get them to open up their wallet. Head, heart, wallet. I think it goes like this. Heart, head, wallet. So I think too often we hide behind data because we've been trained that that's what funders want. That's not what donors want. Donors want stories, not data. Funders want data. And that's my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Greg Wellman. I'm partner and creative director at Duffy, Wellman and Partners. We're a advertising, communications, and political strategy firm. So most of my time is spent creating marketing strategies. Can you hear me? Okay, better. Okay. I'm not the greatest public speaker, just to let you all know. So what I do most of the time is come up with strategies for our clients. We work with them all the time on how you're going to get your message out there. So heard from Ted about how to make the video, okay, talking about the story that you're going to create. What we're going to talk about now is like actually getting down to the brass tacks and getting your message out there and the different tools you can utilize to do that. So I first wanted to start with, what's a donation worth to you guys? Before you create any marketing plan, I want you to think about what a donor's value is to your organization. And in doing that, you can expect on how much you could spend on your marketing strategy. So I don't know if you guys actually have a budget for a marketing strategy or not. Some of you guys don't, and some of you have some. But when you really look at creating the strategy and coming up with a plan to reach out to people, think about what the ROI is. For every dollar you spend to reach a donor, what you're going to get back. And I want you to also think about the initial donation that you'll get. So that's basic, right? So if we spend $1 and we get $5, we made $4. But then think about the residual things that you'll get aside from that when you're reaching out to people. I think cultivating the donor over time is another huge aspect of the ROI, right? So your return on investment with a donation isn't just that initial donation. It's talking to them later on down the road. As they grow in their careers, they might be able to give you more money. As they become more involved in your organization, the donations can grow and grow and grow. But I want to think about that, though, the residual donation, right? So they give you money next year and the year after, and how involved they become in your organization. So take that into consideration whenever you spend $1 in marketing to reach people. That's very important. And then also, it's not just a donation, right? So these people, you might do a lot of outreach, and you might not see initial donations right in the beginning, but also think about they could be volunteers, or they might just not have the money to donate right now, but they could be great advocates for your organization. So every dollar you spend can also get that return on investment. So just think about those things when you're looking at your marketing strategy and what your plan is going to be. The other thing that I really like to when I talk to my clients about coming up with a strategy is, what do you have as for historical data, right? So we're talking about, data with funders. What I'm talking about is metrics from all your outreach that you've done in the past, whether it's social media, whether it's email marketing, whether it's been phone banking, whatever it might be to get donations, how effective have those tools been? So go back, look at your historical data, see what's worked, see what audiences you've reached, and then take and utilize that in your marketing strategy again and again and again, because you know it works. Take those pieces of data, analyze them as much as you can, and every organization has some kind of data. So you might go, well, I don't really have any data. If you look hard enough, you will find data that you can utilize to integrate into a marketing strategy. So then it comes to actually creating a marketing plan and a calendar, and just for the big day of giving, right? So we're 69 days out, so I always work backwards. Anytime we build marketing strategies or plans with any of our clients, we always start with the end date, when we're going to stop the campaign, and what the benchmarks are working backwards. So I want you to think about the next 69 days and what you would do, how you would integrate your plan with your videos, with your story, and how it's going to build up to this big day of giving for the final ask and the asks in between. So that's one of the big things I think that people have to understand, is that when you're building a marketing strategy, you want to have kind of a slow burn, and it builds and it grows. It's like a snowball, and it finally hits. But you have to work backwards in creating the end date, and then, you know, building a strategy has to work in a reversed order. I think the other aspect is, when you're creating a marketing calendar and strategy, is to take and look at the low-hanging fruit in your organization, right? So if you look at your board of directors, they know your organization inside and out. That's why they're there. They're there to give their time to you guys and to help support the organization. Utilize their networks. Take board director A and have them do an outreach to their social media, to their email, to their connections. Have them do an outreach. Have them make an ask to all their huge network. And then after that, get board director B the next week to do the same thing. So you're structuring this outreach and using these people and their vast networks to increase exposure and donations for your organization. The other thing is the staff. Everybody, you guys, the boots on the ground that are doing all the work, you can utilize your networks. Just like everything, every time you're out talking, you're asking for a donation. Everything, all your networks, all your friends know what you do. They know you're passionate about it. Use them. Let your message be known through them. But put that into your calendar. Like, we want, Sally, our executive director, to reach out to her network on this day. And put that into the calendar. So the other aspect is looking at all the different tools you can utilize as part of your marketing strategy and outreach. So what is the most cost-effective tools? Are you going to use social media? Are you going to use video? Are you going to use video? How are you going to utilize the video, right? Are you going to use social media? Are you going to use emails? Are you going to do retargeting? Are you going to do IP address targeting? There's so many digital tools that are very effective and inexpensive that you can integrate to a marketing campaign that can really make your outreach just a little bit better. Does anybody in the audience know what digital retargeting is? Okay, one person. All right, so I think it's a great tool, and you can get a lot of impressions, and it's really an exposure tool in the marketing world. And so when you go and you look at a pair of shoes on Zappos, and then you see them throughout the internet chasing you. They follow you around. They never leave you alone. They get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So you can spend maybe $50 to $100 and get 100,000 impressions, right? Click-through is a little more expensive, but you can do that with your message too, with web banners. You can put these out there, set up targets, and when people come to your website or they view your social media, they will see your branding, your ad, your ask, follow them around on the internet. Now, sometimes that can be a little overbearing, but you can also cut back on how many times people see this stuff. So there's just so many different tools, and we can talk about it more during the workshop and all the different tools and what we can do and what you can do to really get the best ROI for your organization. But things like that, these little things, are vastly important. The other thing I wanted to point out is not to oversaturate people. So when you're doing posts on social media, or whether you're doing emails and you're making this calendar, stagger your different platforms, right? So you're not going to send out an email and then put 4 posts on Facebook and then Twitter, and then all of a sudden reach out to people on LinkedIn too. Don't do that all in one day, right? Make it a slow burn. Do different things at different times. So you're reaching different audiences and cultivating that message, that ask, up to the final day of Big Giving. When you're putting out video messaging, like if we're taking a video that Ted's made for us, if we're taking our story, we're storyboarding these out, we're getting these videos out to people, they need to be broken down so people are palatable for people that are just scrolling through Facebook or they're just getting a quick video on a website, right? So what I always say is, and when we work with different clients, we do a longer video and then we parse that down into pieces. So we usually have 5 to 7 second video, and then we have, a 10-second video, 15 and 30. What I'm saying is take the videos that you create, have a long one that your audience will be interested in, but also take smaller ones and utilize them so people can get the content really quickly. The ask is right there. Right out of the gate, it's your branding, and the ask is right in the middle of the video. So in 6 seconds, can you get your message across, boil down, and make an ask that quick? The other aspect is to put, with most videos that are going out on social media and advertising world, put subtitles on them for people that don't use sound. It's such a simple thing, but it's really important. I get a lot of people that sometimes have marketing plans that are working, so they come to us and they want another marketing plan, maybe for a different product. But the best idea is if you're going to create a marketing plan and a strategy for the big day of giving, and you already have something in place that's working, integrate them together. Don't scrap the other one. See what's working in your other one, and then just see how you can integrate the big day of giving stuff into it. But I think if you take all those different tools and you put them together, you can create a really strategic plan of outreach and communication, whether it's on the digital realm or just directly to donors through outreach. So, do you guys have any questions? Okay.
Can you say a little bit about, just tactically speaking, how far in advance do you reach out for media in order to get on their radar?
Like doing a media pitch, like giving your story and getting out to them. I would start next Monday with outreach, and really I would look at your, when you're setting up your marketing plan, I would do at least 2 weeks of outreach to the media prior to when you want that story to hit. Depending on different outlets take stories at different times, but that's usually the lead time I would give them. And then hopefully in that 2 week period, they'll come get a hold of you and come out and see your organization.
On subtitles, do you just recommend like a synopsis, kind of like forward film?
Yes, yes. Not every word, but and yeah. So I would do a synopsis and just make it really quick. And when you break the videos down, if you're doing a 6 second video, I mean, you just have to have give to us, and then always make sure that your branding's everywhere on it. Like make sure it's down in the corner of the video. Make sure that that people know your organization all the time.
Microphone. What if you do not have the experts that you're talking about to make the videos, do the subtitles, and things like that? Do you have a way that you can recommend volunteers or a cadre of students that might be able to want to do a project or something like that?
Absolutely. So, I know you can get a lot of pro bono work, and you can also go to schools, but you also have an iPhone, right? You guys know your message as much as anybody else. You can sit down with the people that are in your organization and make videos, make an ask with the people that are actually working for you, right? And it doesn't take much. I mean, the iPhone videos work just as well as sometimes as a professionally made video. So I think if the budgets are really low, you can utilize the tools that you have to make short testimonials. Get people to be advocates and make the ask for you. Talk to your executive director, talk to a board member, have them be the face that's going to speak to the public for your video. Yeah. No. Yeah. There's free programs where you can have subtitles put on. The question? Oh, it was, does the iPhone have the ability to put subtitles on? No, but you can get services on the web to do it for nothing or for cheap. There can be, yeah, there are.
Can you talk about what the basic, fundamental principles should be in a marketing plan?
The fundamental principles? Yeah.
Fundamental pieces.
Yeah, so I think the most important thing when you're creating a market plan, which I should have highlighted earlier, but benchmarks, right? So when you're creating your strategy and you're doing your outreach, you need to set up benchmarks and goals. Otherwise, you're setting up a plan and you have no idea what to obtain, right? So with a lot of clients I work with, it's sales, right? What's the sales? How many sales have we made? How many products are going out? But in this world, it's how many donations we're getting in. But it's also look at the exposure, like how many hits we're getting, how many have we increased traffic to our website. And I think putting those benchmarks in and working backwards, like I was talking about before, are really the two essential things in creating a marketing plan. And then build the outreach to reach those to reach those benchmarks.
So someone asked if you can put subtitles directly from your iPhone. You have to use the iMovie. If you go on there and then you can add the subtitles that way.
Can you add any, or is it anything you want?
I think so. It is a little
that.
bit tedious though. It's
Okay.
better to just do it on your like computer, but if all you have is your iPhone, then you can do it from that service.
I did not know you. Thank you.
I don't know if this is covered, but Facebook and YouTube automatically transcribes your video. And
Yes,
puts
they
the
do.
subtitles in there.
Yeah.
And you go in there and you make some corrections and you're done.
Ted, can you, actually I got a question for you. Can you actually edit those subtitles and parse them down?
So in YouTube, it's very slick. You can do a number of ways. You can have it automatically transcribe and you go in and correct, or you can listen to the audio and type in the transcript manually. And sometimes that's faster because there's no correction. You're the guy doing it. And then it automatically syncs your typing up to the audio. And at least in YouTube, all the captions that you put on to your video are searchable by Google since they're the same company.
Right.
So it behooves you to put subtitles or captions into your videos.
All right, so we can go into like the different platforms that we use and what might be the most effective way to do outreach on like a low budget, medium budget, or a large budget when we do the marketing workshop a little bit later. But I think if you utilize the marketing strategy that you can get a lot of donations during the big day of giving. One of the other things too is look at the prizes and the matches that the big day of giving give out and see if you can actually reach those benchmarks in your marketing plan to get that little bit of extra money. Get that $1,000. Get your board to give early so you can get the chance to get the bigger prizes. So think about those things too when you're putting together your marketing plan. I think if you take all those different pieces, put it together, you can come up with a really good strategy to, at least get a lot of donations and get more exposure for your organization. That's it.
Continuing this conversation about engaging your donors and making sure that your story is getting out to your donors in a meaningful way, we have Kevin Smith-Fagan from KVIE.
Thanks, Lavelle. Good morning, everyone. First thing I'd like to do, since we're talking about storytelling, is show you a short video. This is an example, kind of a testimonial. Many of you are in direct service, right? So it is a very clear outcome that you can articulate to a donor, right? We provide this education and then students get to this next step, or we provide this meal or this training and this happens. Public media is a lot harder, right? We put on a great show. We put on a great Nova like that volcano day last night on Nature, actually. How do I measure impact? How do I tell the story that actually made any difference in society? So this would be an example of a series of first-person testimonials. 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 Of 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 Thanks. That's a really nice story, right? You watch Magic School Bus. It helps you on the road to becoming a rocket scientist. I mean, so you can't really claim full credit, but, you know, we did our part. And there are some other wonderful stories that are in that campaign as well. I have some bulleted donor engagement practices up here. I've been in nonprofit work as a outward-facing person, as essentially a fundraiser for about 30 years. And these are some of the things that I have learned about building relationships with donors. Big Day of Giving, at least in my view, is a great opportunity to get another gift, not to get the one gift for the year. It is a great reason to ask for more giving, and I would encourage you to think that way, which means that you're in donor engagement all the time. And one of the things that has been my observation over the years is that people who are in direct service, people in nonprofit work, are unselfish, and they don't like to impose on other people, and it makes them not want to impose on their donors. So you might feel a little gun shy about calling somebody up and inviting yourself over or wanting to get together, but it is the best thing for your mission. If you're getting donations from somebody that you don't know, you want to meet that person. Amen, Kevin. There you go. And yes, I was one of these same people before I got over it, thinking like, oh man, feeling really gun shy about it, and feeling like this is an imposition. I'm going to think I'm like a car salesman, you know, and want to keep me at arm's length. And that is not true. Donors care about your values and your mission, and they will appreciate that you want to get to know them. So as much FaceTime as you can get, or even picking up the phone to just make a thank you call, it will help tremendously in advancing your mission, because you get to find out what she or he cares about, and that becomes the basis of your storytelling. As a representative of public television, I am fortunate in that we cover a wide spectrum of topics: arts and children's education and news and public affairs and drama. So when I visit with donors, I find out what it is that they are watching and appreciating, and then that becomes the basis for the conversation that we have. Recently I had a conversation with and found out that a guy who isn't Native American has Native American interests. So now when I see that we've got a program coming up, there's this awesome documentary about the influence of Native Americans in rock and roll. It was called Rumble. And I just shoot the guy an email and say, hey man, I know you will be interested in this. I think you should check it out, right? When you understand what the donors care about in Big Dog or the rest of the time, you can do a better job showing them that the work you're doing relates back to what they care about. You know, this one is, I kind of feel dumb having even put it up there now that I look at it. Show her your mission in action. Obviously you want to do that. Obviously you want to be demonstrating to your donors like, hey, look at the great work that we're doing. The form that takes might be in video, as our presenter have done a really good job showing how I can do that, but it can also be, you know, in a newsletter or in a visit, which is ideal, you know, getting people coming in for a tour so that they can see themselves and become more a partner. The more that your donor can feel that person is a partner with you, the better that you will advance the mission. You do want to be in contact regularly, just in any old way that you can. And please, I really encourage you to make it the personal touch. It takes longer to personalize letters. It takes longer to scribble a note at the bottom of thank you letters and appeal letters. It takes longer to put stamps on those envelopes instead of running them through the metered mail. But all of those little things show those donors that you care about them and that a person, a real live person at your organization, is in dialogue with them. when I see metered mail, I don't know. It makes me think faceless, generic process. I like a live stamp, you know. Question. Hate them, won't do them. Because it's like it totally tells me as soon as I see a label, I'm like, oh, I was just on some list. Yeah, I mean, when you get something handwritten, you're going to open it. And again, these principles are not specific to Big Day of Giving, but they'll help the organization, and they certainly do apply the run-up to Big Day of Giving as you're trying to push people to give online in that 24-hour period.
I have a question, Kevin.
Sure.
Okay. This is for my organization, 916 Inc. Okay. So what's the threshold, though? Like, I have like 700 donors in my email list, or in my list. I can't handwrite all 700. So as an organization, do I need to define a threshold about which donors get super personal touches and which donors might get the meter mail?
Yes.
Because I have very limited resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just becomes an ROI thing. I mean, it's nothing personal to a $25 donor who gives $25 every year. No matter what you do, you're going to get $25 a year. If you only have limited time, you're going to spend it on somebody who's $500 or $5,000 a year and not $25. And it's not because you don't value them as a person. It's because it's just pure ROI on your time. What that threshold exactly is probably falls in specifics to every person and every person's workload. But sure, if you could do it, if we could treat each of the 50,000 people who make some gift to KVIE every year with the personal touch, we would. But we can't. You know, it's the.
I'll say that a threshold for 916 Inc. in the beginning was a $100 donor. If you gave $100, you got a lot of personal touches. So be okay if your threshold is $25 because that's the size of your organization. Love and embrace it. It's not good or bad. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. Good deal. I'm gonna and then this one probably doesn't need to be said, but you can't thank your donors enough. Just every time you interact with them, say thank you at the end. They'll never get tired of hearing it. All right, next slide. I have just a few more slides, and these are sort of very concrete principles about how you craft your messaging, whatever platform your messaging is going to be on. This one seems really simple, but it turns out to be hard for some people. The people you serve are the donor's interest. You aren't. You're only a vehicle. When people give to the cat sanctuary, Happy Tales, or wherever, it is not because they especially appreciate the work of the people who work there and volunteer. It's because they love the cats. They like those people fine too because they share values. But when I see sentence structures that say, our program serves hundreds of children, it's like, it's okay, but the children should be in the front. Hundreds of at-risk children benefit from your program. It is about the children. It is not about the organization. The organization is only the way that the mission gets accomplished. I try, when writing donor materials, to ban we, our, or us. So see if you can do that when you're writing, maybe in the exercise, because it hammers home this, and because you're immersed in your organization's world all the time, it can be challenging to not think of the work that way. But the donors don't think of the work that way. The donors think of the mission. We're going to flip to the next one. When you're telling your stories, when you're crafting your materials, your values and your ideas are much more compelling to donors than your tactics are. They matter. I mean, how you get that work done does matter, but it is not the most compelling thing when you're storytelling with your donors. Your values and your ideals are. I remember once I volunteered volunteered for several years for an organization that was based near Loaves and Fishes, really wonderful direct service organization called Women's Empowerment. And so I would go down there to the Loaves and Fishes campus, park and go to meetings and stuff, and was having a conversation once with the founder and the head of Women's Empowerment, a woman named Lisa Culp, really a heroic person, and saying like, man, how do you not get down? Because you see, what to me is like kind of depressing stuff in a hard neighborhood day after day after day. And she said to me, when I see a woman on the street, I see so much potential. And that like hit me right between the eyes, because it was not what I was seeing. I mean, that is a values and ideals statement. She is saying, I believe that everybody has huge, wonderful human potential, and my organization is here to help them get there. It's like, it was just super powerful for me. Your efforts are very nice and laudable, but your outcomes are better. So when you frame the conversation, make sure that what you're getting accomplished is leading, not the way that you are getting there. It certainly does matter. How you get there certainly does matter, right? The actual things that happen should be part of your storytelling, but it's not the lead thing. The reason people want to support your organization is because what you accomplish and how it matches their values and their ideals. We're going to flip to the next, echoing something I think that Katie may have commented on. Statistics support your story, but you can't let them be your story. I see a person here in the crowd today whom I respect professionally and personally a lot, Al Golden from the YMCA of Superior, California. Hi, Al. I volunteer for the Y. And some time ago, the Y put out a one sheet of all that it accomplishes. And this is a really amazing organization. A lot of seniors, that not only is where they go for fitness, but it's where they go for community. So they'll go and do like an aquatics class or something and then get a cup of coffee and hang around the lobby with the 4 or 5 other people who are their friends in that class. And it's really about community connectedness as much as it is about having swum, and thousands of kids learn to swim at the Y, and it gets all the like huge number, 15,000 daycare campers over the course of the summer, and on and on and on. And this one pager said like 3,000 of this, 15,000 of that, 30,000 of that, and 20,000 of that. And I read it, but I didn't feel anything, because it was a bunch of numbers, and actually I didn't even have context for the numbers, so I didn't really know if 2,000 of something was a lot or wasn't a lot. It sounded like a lot. I think I remember that my feedback for that piece was, could you please give me the story? Like, tell me about one lady who is a senior who benefits from going to the Y and how it enriches her life. And then tell me that there are 2,000 more like her. But it's the story of the person that is going to stick with me and make me feel the validity of the mission. And then moving on to the next, if you get a sec, Lavelle, that would be great. Right, don't bury the lead. This is my last little item. When you're crafting the message, we tend to do this a lot. You see it a lot. So this example, which is kind of small type up on screen, so I'll read it. The version is, a study by the Boston Children's Hospital Center on Child Media and Health found that watching PBS Kids programs is as effective in academic growth as attending a high-quality preschool. It's like a pretty valuable statement. But they buried the lead. The preschooler is the point. The preschooler is the person served. A preschooler watching PBS Kids programs enjoys the same academic growth as kids attending a high-quality preschool, comma, according to blah, 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 blah. And this is just, like when your sentence structure gets dense and buries the most important thing, you are losing some of the impact that is there to really hammer home the power of your organization's work for the reader. I'm going to stop now and invite questions.
Going back to that topic of expressing appreciation and the personal touch, I know the handwritten note is great, but either from you or maybe some other organizations, can we hear some ideas on ways to thank people personally that are more environmentally conscious and sustainable? We have a lot of supporters that's a very important piece to them. So are there any ideas other than like maybe here's an email?
Wow, there are. The hands are up.
We use our board to make phone calls. And it typically goes to a voice message anyway, for those people who are scared of that.
I was also going to say phone calls, personal phone calls make all the difference, whether it comes from a staff, even, we've had volunteers that have come and sat and done, I volunteer at B Street and I'm calling to thank you for. It's huge to them. And also a personal email, not a blast email, but hi, Laura, I saw you, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to let you know how much we appreciate it. It matters to them because it's a personal touch. And, it's free. It takes a tiny bit of time, but that's it.
We stop what we're doing in our programs for a little while on the big day of giving, and our social work staff send emails in real time thanking people for their donations. Our donors love it. Our board loves it. They're like, oh, I never really talked to that staff person before. That was so heartfelt. Can I meet them? It's that personal touch in real time that we've found really effective.
Well, in this day and age, social media is a really good way to thank your supporters. Like we're the Winter Sanctuary for First Step Communities, and we would not have that program if it wasn't for the churches. So we like to kind of thank them on social media, like, thank you guys for donating your church for our, services.
I had a question about the we part of taking things out. You said don't use we or us. I work in a really small organization, and I always include the we, not to so much mean staff, because there aren't a lot of us, but to mean like we are all together, you, me, the donor members. What do you think about that? Does it just depend on the sentence?
Absolutely. When the we includes the reader, the donor, that's totally different than than being organization-centric. The core, there are times when you do want to say, we believe that all people have human dignity is a value statement that you would use we. It would be very logical. My point is just to avoid framing your storytelling where you're the center of the universe and not the people served. We have time, I think, for one more question because we're breaking at 10:30. All right, so we one comment and one question. That's going to be great.
Quickly on the comment front, I was just going to say I work with a youth organization, and so sometimes some of our youth actually make those phone calls because they are the benefactors of the funds that we raise, and so they'll call some of our donors and say, thank you for donating. But on the point of a personal phone call, I've called donors in the past that have stuck out for either their address or just being a new donor to our organization. And there's one in particular that I called one day and had a great conversation with, and he was a $100 donor, and by the time the conversation was over, he had donated $10,000. So those personal phone calls and asking the questions of why did you donate and what drives you, and all of those types of things that you brought up very well, they will give you a better return on your investment.
Yeah, I know we have one more question. Is that right, in the back of the room? So when Monica calls back, I was just going to say one more thing to throw in. I found in the past maybe 3 years, if I'm calling somebody, I have to say in the first 3 or 5 words that it's a thank you call, because otherwise they think that it's telemarketing and they're just like, click. So you almost have to hurry in the fact that find a way to signal you're not actually asking for something, unless you are.
Thank you for your time. Donna Eckwurzel from Hart's Landing Ranch. So going back to the example that you gave, hundreds of at-risk children benefit from from our program. So the R is in there. So I was working on that. Would you recommend hundreds of at-risk children benefit from your donation? Like, how is that?
Definitely. Yes. Our program is not great. If I were actually doing that in practice, probably hundreds of at-risk children benefit from the play structure or from the after-school thing or from the this. In this example, it was just to show the flipping of not being the subject in the sentence. So great point. Thank you. And okay, really, really last one.
Smile on your face because people hear it in your voice.
Absolutely.
Put that smile on your face and then you communicate even better.
Smile and dial. All right. Thank you.
All right, we're going to get moving with some trivia. So, how many, and raise your hand, please. Please raise your hand. How many days until Big Day of Giving?
You guys.
I know.
69.
Thank you. Thank you. You're all so excited. I love it. I love it. Keep that energy going. But we have to pick a winner.
All right, so this one is a little bit harder. For those of you who have gone on and looked at our prizes, we have 2 prizes this year that you need to submit your interest beforehand. That is our business best business partnership and our best integrated marketing campaign. And there is a date that you have to submit your interest by. What is that date? Anyone? Is this going to be too difficult? Yeah? No, think April. Oh, there you go. Good one.
All righty. So let's see. What is the date by when you need to submit for the video prize?
Yeah, we have a video prize, and it's the best video, best 30-second video. You have to submit that beforehand as well.
What date is that?
No.
No. Still in April. Still in April. Yeah, in the back? No. Right here. Yes!
Yeah.
Warmer, hot.
So make sure to go on the website and look at all those dates. So if you're interested in those prizes, you get that in time because those are deadlines and those are hard deadlines. So we won't take any submissions after that.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the last one. I personally, I'm a font person, so I'm not sure if other people would get this, but for anyone who has read the brand standards, what are the 2 BDOG fonts? Is anyone going to know this? I'm sorry. I'm a font person.
Vasey
does know. Emily? Yeah. Good job. It's Calibri and Campton.
Yeah.
So, what I had you do was really talk about your why, right? And then you had 3 other presenters that was like, okay, well, you're going to have to interview other people and share their story. And then you had another presenter that was like, let's get down to brass tacks about how you're going to disseminate that story and what do, donors want and the messaging. And we know that we're going to put out stuff on Facebook and Twitter, right? And Twitter has character count, right? There's different messaging platforms that require different types of stories. And then you had Kevin, right, who says, don't make it about you. Don't be organizational centric, right? So now you're like, well, what do I do? Guess what? You do all the things. So that's how it works. It's actually about choosing what you lead with in the moment. So I believe that if you've drilled down to your why, right? And that your natural sort of storytelling, fundraising self is going to be out in the community and you're going to be able to articulate your personal why pretty fast, right? But sometimes others don't need your personal why. So you got to lead with something else. So I want you to have an arsenal of different stories and different messages, and you have to know them kind of well. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to go back to your desk and you're going to say, oh my God, I got to write like 20 different stories for 20 different donor segments. And Katie says I have to learn them really well, so I'm going to start memorizing them. It is not like that, you guys. It's not. I believe that probably one of the secrets to my success at 916 Inc., because I didn't have any economic capital when I started that nonprofit. We were all volunteer run for about 3.5 years. That's what people don't know about 916 Inc. I had a lot of social and cultural capital to bring in economic capital. That happened through a mix, right, of using all the tools in my handbag. The personal story. Some people give because they like Katie McCleary, and I'm infectious. I want you to be infectious with your joy for the work you do. There's no greater way to get a following than to be infectious. What if you don't have an infectious personality? You're just telling me to be joyful, and I'm not that person. Great. Don't be that person. No, I'm serious. It's okay. Here's something I've learned over time. It's not good or bad. It just is, right? It's not good or bad. It just is. So what you need to have is a toolkit of your social capital and your cultural capital and any sort of economic small budgets that you have. That's your economic capital, right? Like when people say, well, what's your budget for marketing, right? And you're like, $75? What'll that do me, right? I want you to build up a bunch of messages and stories throughout time. I need you to be aware in sort of a meta way. Anybody know what being meta means? Being meta is when you are conscious of how you are operating in the moment. It's very easy. It's like when you are watching yourself do the thing in the moment. You separate, right? So over time, as you're out talking to friends, fundraising with donors, giving tours with funders, right? I want you to be able to have all these different messages and stories in your handbag so you know what to lead with. Why are they here? Are they here for the Katie McCleary show? Usually not. And Kevin's going to warn you against that, right? At some point, it can't be about you. It has to be about your impact and who you serve, not your passion and your purpose and your why. Sometimes, right, the message that you have to lead with is statistics and data and the head, right? You have a bunch of funders who have seen every single dog and pony show that there is. They are in it. Don't bury the lead, like Kevin said. What do you need and why? They're very direct. You need to be able to step into that space and lead that way with your arsenal of stories and messages. That's what this donor cares about in the moment, or that's what this funder cares about in the moment. And then with a donor, Kevin was totally right. Figure out what's their carrot. What motivates them to give? What is the story that they're seeing that is resonating with them? So you're going to get real meta with all of it, right? I need you to be reflective about what's coming out of your mouth or being written on the page or being amplified on social media. So you had stories that you wrote, right? Why? The why. 5 minutes, it was just a free write. A free write, by the way, should not be just thrown up on your social media or messaged out. Let's be real clear about that. There is an element to the dog and pony show. For me, it's a reframe of it's not a dog and pony show because that makes me feel like a fraud and a used car salesman. It's a reframe of I'm going to polish my stories to be the best that they can to resonate with my audience because they're looking for a reason to open their wallets. Give them the reason. Start manipulating your stories all around. The problem is that most people who don't love writing, who don't love storytelling, right? Y'all hate revision. Y'all hate revision. Revision is revision. Revision is reframing. It is looking at it from 8 different angles. Every story, I believe, has 8 different angles. And I bet you're only operating in 2 of those angles. Get real meta with yourself. How can I see myself in 8 different reframes of the stories that I tell? So, what I need you to do is I need you to look at your why. You wrote a lot. I want you to choose just 2 things, 2 resonant things out of your why that you think articulate the impact of your organization, but may not be reflected in your mission statement. It's a hard thing to do. But what I want you to do right now is go through your why, and I just want you to choose sort of 2 nuggets, 2 pieces that you think are the gems. A third of you are like, everything I wrote is a gem. I'm not erasing anything, I'm using all of it. And then a third of you are saying, I got nothing, I don't know what to do. And a third of you are like, okay, I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to underline 2. You just have to try. Can't be gun shy, like Kevin says. We have to keep trying. So when you underline your 2 whys, think about them from different angles. Get real meta with yourself. Why are those 2 things resonating with me? And then reframe, kind of like a kaleidoscope, right? Same materials, you just do the twist and everything falls in a different place and you see something differently. That's how a kaleidoscope works. Look at it from another kaleidoscope angle. Is my why going to resonate with a donor? Is my why going to resonate with a funder? What's missing from that? Take those 2 things and then try to really move and manipulate them in about 20 different ways, if you can. Now, when you go back to your organization, I'm sure that you have friends who you work with. I'm sure you have a pal in your organization that you can go to and say, well, I just did this, and can I share with you my why? Can you tell me what your why is? Their why might be completely different. This is where you start interviewing people. You start thinking, does my why connect over to this why? That connects over to this why? And in that way, you're going to be able to see all the angles pretty soon. I think that's how you have to think about it. And the last thing I have to say is that if you don't like raising money, let's get real clear about money and the amazing, wonderful, good things that it can do. The biggest change that happened at 916 Inc. from being an all-volunteer organization where all we did was cry about how much money we didn't have and why the donors weren't coming to our door with the big bucks, was an internal change in my thinking. I demonized money, and I demonized the people who had the money because I don't like gatekeepers. I don't like asking permission. I had to learn how to fundraise, which means I had to go ask for money from people who I believed were gatekeepers, and I believed didn't want to support my cause because I unfairly demonized them. So beyond all this storytelling and all this stuff, I'm going to ask you to reach real deep in your heart and think about your relationship to money and your relationship to who you think has the money that's not giving you the money.
Well, now everyone's looking at me. And to reframe what you said, I think of it as matchmaking. I'm presenting people with money with an opportunity to help a bunch of people in a way that they didn't even know that they wanted to. And I'm the conduit to making the matchmaking happen.
Yep. And if you're the conduit, right? You're the person, you're the conduit. You better be real clear and comfortable with your reason why you can go ask for money, which you are, Tammy. You reframed it in a way that made it comfortable for you to go do that, which is awesome. Any other questions? I know I'm a lot of feist and passion. I'm intimidating. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much, Katie. We love your passion. We love your spunk. We need more of that in this world, I think. You know, it's hard getting out there and talking to people. It's hard asking for money. But if you have all of these tools, it's just going to make it that much easier on you all. So I'm going to bring Greg back up. If you have any questions about how you can take these stories and fold them into your marketing campaign, Greg is the man to talk to. So let's ask him some questions about how we can take what you've done with Katie and transform that and implement that into your marketing campaign. So
Thanks, Lavelle. So do you guys have any questions about how to integrate this into a digital marketing plan, or just a, or you could do direct mail, just call banks? I mean, what do you guys use? I mean, do you guys, what's worked best for your organizations, I guess, what I want to ask you guys. Do you guys do marketing? Social media, email, it's affordable.
We've discussed a lot about marketing today, and we have board members who have no experience at all in marketing and how to be able to talk to people. Some of them are very introverted. So what can I do to help them become more extroverted and become better marketers, especially when they're making those phone calls to donors?
It's a great question. Wait for it, wait for it.
Well, I think it is making your story, like Katie's talking about, right? And then working with them on how to tell that story to their friends and reach out. Now, maybe they don't like to make phone calls, right? But they can make emails, personal emails like we were talking about before, to their networks. And I doubt that they're shy about their networks, right? I mean, I'm not afraid to call my friend and say, hey, I have this organization that I really support, and I think you should support it too. So I think in that aspect, as long as you're teaching them what to say and you're coaching them on the messaging, you can really utilize your board members to get that out, through their networks.
We found that we had a really similar problem, especially with our staff and our board. We all had our different whys. So we did a whole staff meeting one day where we sat down and said, okay, how do you talk about this? And then from that, we were able to pull some little tidbits. So if people, sometimes you need like a starting point. That's where we're able to go, oh, we talked about that one-liner. Here's where we start. And I think it's worked for me, at least.
Something that was successful with our board for the organization I worked for with Big Dave Giving last year to get the board engaged was two things. Was we asked them, hey, pick the platform that you're comfortable with, whether that's a phone call, whether that's your social media, whether that's an email. And then we just asked them, why are you on our board? Like, what is it about this nonprofit that you want to be a part of? So just asking that, kind of like the first gentleman was talking about, if they share that personal story to their personal connections, it'll be incredibly impactful. And then for those that wanted to do an email, we actually built an email template for our board members and had a section in there like, here's your personal plug, but then all the information we needed potential donors to know was in there, and just sending them that template and saying, hey, change it as you want. Took a lot of the work out of it for them, and they were more apt to help.
Okay, so I have so many things. Okay, if you have not seen that Simon Sinek TED Talk, you guys know the one. The why, it is the why. Take 10 minutes. I would show it to your board. I think it's important to take your staffs and board, because we've done this at Chat, through the exercise of helping them discover their why, because often their why is what you do or how you do it, and not the why, which takes more digging, where Katie had talked about, they give you an answer and then you go, but why? And they pause and they say something else. That's great, but why? And it actually is a lot of soul searching that I don't think we do on the daily, because it takes a lot of personal investment. But the other thing that I think was a great jumping off point for us is that we had this committee of stakeholders a number of years back. There were board members, there were current and alumni families that helped us generate our elevator speech, basically, that we could give out to board members so that we were all sharing a similar message. And I did it in a couple different ways, because some people like to work off of bullet points and kind of devise their own narrative. And then some people like it to come as a narrative. So we did that in both styles, so people could then see what was really impactful in like 10 sentences or 10 bullet points, and then also bring in what was at their core for being involved. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, going to the ASO, I mean, I think utilizing your board, and does most of your guys' boards donate to the organization? It's a requirement? Okay. I mean, because I've been on boards before, and that's usually a requirement, but some it isn't. But also, I've also worked as a marketing director for a nonprofit, and I've worked as an interim director, and I've never had a problem asking board members for money. I think they're a great source of money, but also teaching them on how to get this message out is really important, because some of them don't know, and they have a really hard time articulating it. And I think they want to help and they want to give, but they don't, like you were saying, giving them the messaging to get out to people.
So a number of years ago, I served on the board of the Girl Scouts for San Diego Imperial Council, and they gave us this little fold-out thing with key facts about the nonprofit, how many cookies we sold, and all that kind of. But the stuff that because often we were on the phone talking to people about Girl Scouts, and it was remarkably helpful because how you just have your mind goes blank, and it's visual. So you don't have to bring it up on your phone or your desktop. So sometimes it's the old-fashioned simple stuff that works too, because we can't assume that our board members are going to remember everything because they don't work for us. They support us, but they don't live it every day.
Do you have any suggestions for maybe some inexpensive tools that we can take, if maybe that's organizing our marketing strategy or pulling over to digital?
I just like yelling. I think, like I was talking about before, the retargeting tool for exposure and getting your brand. Because people see this on social media and it might not resonate with them immediately, but if they see it a couple times. And the other aspect is that you want to set up, with your social media plans, put in your advertising pixels. So when people do make the donation, they don't see these ads again. I think retargeting, they're called pixels. So once you go, it's a piece of JavaScript. Oh. I used to be a programmer, so it is a piece of code that you can get from Facebook or you get from other ad services, and you put it in. And when a person completes a transaction, a donation, and they get to the thank you page, they won't see your ads anymore. So you're not wasting money on hitting people over and over, and then pushing them away because they're like, well, I just gave you money. Why are you asking me again and again and again? Other cheap tools, obviously email blast. I know it's not that personal, but if you can use these messages and integrate videos into your emails, it's super easy with MailChimp, right? And it's free, or nominal cost. And put these videos in there, whether you have them professionally made or you guys make them on the iPhone, however you do it, integrate them in and really sell the organization with these key messages through email. You can do, IP address targeting. So if you have a mailing list and you want to send them some digital ads, it's really affordable. It's about $25 to $50 per 1,000 impressions. So you can match your mailing list to IP addresses. So they get direct, so let's say you have a mailing list of 5,000 people, right? You do this match service, and then you start distributing ads via this match service, and it goes directly to the IP address connected to that address. So it's going to their desktops, it's going to their whatever device they're using, they're seeing your ads through that IP address. And it's really affordable. I know it sounds complicated, but it's really not. There's services that'll do it, and it's pretty affordable. So IP address targeting, you can search it, and it's not self-explanatory, but if you have a web developer that you work with, they should know the ins and outs of this relatively well and can help you with this.
I'm going to task Greg with putting a one-pager together with some of these tools that we can throw up on the toolkit.
Absolutely.
I think that'll be very helpful.
Yes, I will do that, no problem.
Thank you, Greg.
Yes, because I didn't make any slides.
That's okay. It's not a requirement. Not a requirement. We're getting close to the end of our time together. Any final questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah. I want to give you guys one more. It's an organization that I work with. It's a nonprofit, but it's to support nonprofits. So it's called the Council for Giving. So our email address is Council for Giving. And every quarter we try to give out $10,000 to a nonprofit. You can apply online. We have a pitch. We have a meeting. You come and pitch your organization, and then we do a vote, and whoever wins the majority vote gets the money. And it's 100 men, and they all get together and give $100. So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. Sign up on the website, check it out, because it's relatively inexpensive to come and perhaps get $10,000.
And does it have to be sports related?
No, it's nothing to do with sports. Any nonprofit can come. 916 Inc. has come and pitched, I believe, before. Didn't you, Katie? The Council for Giving. Right. So there's, yeah, so I just thought that might be another resource that you guys could look into. And you can apply online. And then, you know, we have a board committee that will go through all the applications and reach out to you.
And when does this occur? Is it
happens every quarter.
Every quarter. Oh, wow.
Quarterly,
Goodness.
we do a meeting every quarter.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're all about providing resources, tools, ways to get your message out there and engage your audience. So thank you, Greg. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Ted. And thank you, Kevin. And thank you all for being here again today. I know
Thanks, you guys.
We're at the home stretch of boot camp season. So again, I can't thank you all enough for being a part of Big Day of Giving this year. And I'll see you soon.